Okay, this will be part 3 of the Diana RWS 48 and 22. This will be disassembly. Uh, to make things a little shorter on the videos, I kind of start disassembling and get it ready to take apart. If you don't know what I'm talking about on any of this, go back to part 2 or part 1. Um, I removed the clips for the arm, pulled the pin out. You can take this one apart also. I chose not to. I got a little safety here, some foam, wrap around the barrel just so you don't scratch things up. You want to keep your stuff good. And if you're working on someone else's stuff, you really want to keep it good. We do not touch this arm off the cylinder yet. Okay. First order, I made these dummy pins. They are shorter and they are smaller diameter. The original pins that hold the trigger and the assembly and spring in are 195 thousandths. I happen to have some machine hardened round stock, and these are at 182 thousandths. So they're undersized a little bit. No big deal. The length I made them, because you want them shorter than the tube itself, are 1 inch and hold on, sorry, just trying to get this here, make sure I give you a good measurement. 120 130 thousandths, give or take. And I just put a little chamfer on these. I cut these to size. What you want to do here, I'll zoom in here, try to make it so everybody can see. Once you remove this arm, you can get to the pins. What you want to do is remove the first outer pin towards the safety, and you want the safety on. Okay, let's just do this. We're just gonna flip this over here. This is the first one I removed, and I did push it through with the punch first. One thing I wanted to do, sorry, was put a little grease on there, just so if I turn the gun, it doesn't fall out. Absolutely perfect, and that grease holds it in. Before you do anything else, I recommend a spring compressor to anybody doing this, just as a safety precaution. I won't be using a spring compressor. I've done this many times. I am taking my own risk here, so please use a spring compressor. Do it the right way. What I had to do, and I will show you here. You see how this end is? It is not a flat end. I had a piece of plastic, hard industrial plastic. I just ground it out so it fits on here. Oh, wow. Sorry, that's way zoomed in. My apologies. Okay. As you can see here, it's not a flat end. What I did was industrial plastic. I know this is up to strength. I ground it out till I got a really good fit, and I know it's going to stay on there solid. So I have something flat to push against and hold it correctly. Yeah, you might be better off taking the arm off. It will make things a little easier. But for me, and I just use a sliding clamp. This is pretty much what I've come standard to when I first started doing this, and I actually have a couple spring compressors made for certain guns, my Accu and my Hatsons, but I'm to the point now where I just use this. And I will not recommend using this. I will recommend using the spring compressor for everyone's safety. I just have to make sure it's lined up properly and centered properly. So before I take that second pin out, this has to be on here secure and nice and tight. Not over tightening but it has to be on there snug until I am ready to apply a little pressure. What I'm going to do is use a little piece of rubber on the end of the barrel just to make sure it has a good bite and doesn't slip off. I will back this off now. Even I am trying to be as safe as possible because obviously I don't want to get injured or damage the rifle. So. And I will have to elevate this up a little bit, which I do have V blocks. If you do this enough times, you learn some good tools and tricks. And that just holds it in there. But what I also wanted to do, like I said, this is a beautiful gun. I don't really want to scratch it up. So we'll take a rag. You don't want to scratch any gun up, even if it's an older gun or whatnot. You just want to be safe and be courteous if you're doing it for a customer. You don't want to scratch up their nice rifle. Okay, so I can move this out of the way. My first pin is in and shall clear. Just what I'm going to do is, I tried tapping the dummy through. It didn't work out that great. It's just, and I take a little punch just to get it started moving. Okay. Going to grab a little more grease. Like I said, I just don't want these pins falling out. And before it's all the way through, I'm going to check my clamp. Alright, I'm going to stop it there. Make sure I have the clamp is centered. It's going to hold. And I don't like it, so what I'm going to do, come back around, push that original pin back in a little bit, making sure it will hold. Release the pressure, recenter this plastic piece. Like I said, you don't want to break your safety, so take your time. Make sure it is centered, it will not slip off. Okay, I am very happy with that. Everything is centered, it's good. I'm going to send this dummy pin through till it's past the tube. And in this case, I would suggest that you do use a spring compressor, because once you release this, it has a tendency of coming out very fast. So you really do want to be able to unscrew it. That is just about under. Okay, see, it did move a little already. I'm going to cover this. Okay, can we still see? I'm going to cover this with the towel, the shirt, actually, since I have a shirt here. I'm going to release, and it did not move. Sometimes I've had rifles where they're just stuck in there. Or what I may have to do is that pin may be just a tad bit too long. So what I'm going to do is, unfortunately, I was trying to prepare ahead of time so I wouldn't have to waste any time making a video. Put that pin back in. Take this. I'm going to shorten it just a little bit. And give me 2 seconds. Okay, I'm going to put this one back through. I did put a chamfer back on it. Unfortunately, my little brass hammer is at work, so I'm just kind of using this. Oh, I do have my big brass hammer, but as you see, it's working, so. Oh, there we go. I think I went a little too far. It did. That's why I was trying to use the grease to prevent it from flying out. Sometimes things just don't work out the way you want them to. There we go. I just want to try to get below the tube. It should be pretty much there. Okay, this is being a little fussy coming out. But I've had this before where I've actually had to tap it a little. I'm going to take a little block of wood and gently, very gently, just give it a little motivation. See if it's moving or not. And you know what? I still see it's not past the tube. That one is. Still have tension on it, but it's just a lot looser now. Okay, this is being a little stubborn here. Okay, I see it has moved. Okay, that's good. Like I said, sometimes they're just a little stubborn coming out. Okay, the holes are moving, so it means that is coming out. I've actually done this even without a spring compressor or a clamp. It's just the coming out part you have to be careful, because you do not want it to release all at once, obviously. That looks good. I mean, those pins are past the tube. Just gonna check here. You know what? Looks like I'm still having an issue with one pin. It's just so close. Okay, no problem. I'm going to tighten it back up. I'd rather be safe than try to force it. There we go. Yep, and that's what it is that one pin. I didn't want to leave myself with too short of a pin. I didn't know how much of an effect. I do actually have a shorter pin, so guess what? I'm going to drop this in because I thought this pin was way too short. Put some grease on it, send it in, making sure it is past the tube. I mean, that literally was not missing by much, but it was missing enough. Make sure my clamp is on there securely. There we go. See? No problem. I mean, that wasn't much pressure at all. Everything's good. No damage. Beautiful. Like I said, I'm not touching the trigger right now, so I'm going to put that aside. I do not have the tune kit. It's just rainy, crappy, and I was bored, so let's get everything out of the way. It looks like that breech seal is a pain in the butt to get out from what I read. Someone was saying taking 832 or whatever, putting it into the breech seal and pulling it out. Others were saying use a pick, use a small torch to heat it up. Someone said to drill down. If you're not going to plane, if you got new ones you're putting it in, just slightly drill out the plastic breech without damaging any of the metal, and then it pops out that way. Okay, and here's the spring. This is kind of loose for my taste. I like to be able to actually screw the guides in. I might actually have another coil spring there. But I believe all this is getting replaced. Ooh. Yeah, there's some sharp edges on this washer here. I mean, but for what it was, I mean, it was a good spring. So, okay, now here's the other part I learned. You cannot take this rod off until you get the spring out. Now you can slide this back, and to make everything easier, this rod here has to come out to obviously leave the tube. But if you look right here, don't do this while the spring is in there and compressed. There's a hole here. I believe there is a set screw that is in there. So, let me zoom up. There it is. So by removing this set screw in here, you can take this out and then slide everything out. I'm guessing it's going to be metric. It's German, so that I did not plan for ahead of time. I apologize. Oh, I did not know what screw it was, and I was not going to try doing it with the breech open. As you could understand, I don't like sticking my fingers where they don't belong. So, let me see. I have tons of Allen wrenches here, and I do mean tons. When you buy enough scopes, you have a large variety to choose from. I think I've got every imaginable Allen wrench you could. And I believe this is an Allen head in here. Yes, it is. Okay. Not bad. It only took me a quick try here. And just remember, reverse process of putting this back together. Okay, so really, now that I know, this gun is super easy to work on. It's just the not knowing. Even though I read up on it, it's still not the same until you're hands-on. Okay, and this is what it looks like. There we go. A long rod, and it's like Allen head on top. But that's what you need to remove to get the arm out. And that comes right out. Put that safely over in the spot. I'm just going slow, not ripping the whole thing out. That would be kind of foolish. Okay, here we go. That is the seal. The seal looks beautiful on this, to be honest. So no detonation with this. There was no nicks, which is really a beautiful thing to see when you work on other rifles. You just see so many that were just shoved in there. My Gamo Accu was so bad. And I mean, even some of my Hatsons too. I mean, they just don't deburr. And this is why you pay so much, because you get the quality of a higher end air rifle. They do this ahead of time. You still want to go and clean it up. I did put a little oil in there, so there's a little more oil on here than what would normally be there. And your breech seal is right in there. And this one, hard to see, but I'll put the white behind there. But it's in there, and I'm going to have to use a pick and somehow get that out. And you will have to reset your cocking arm for the new seal. Because if this one's worn, you do not want to apply overpressurize the new breech seal. So you will have to spin it out and readjust it. I'll go over that on my next video. Alright, so, I mean, this gun is super easy to work on for me. I mean, if you've worked on guns before, you will not have an issue. And what I really want to see, where are they? Okay. I mean, this was like $15. It's a jeweler helmet, magnifying, and let me tell you, this thing just paid for itself on my first time I worked on an air rifle. I'm going to have to get a light, but this does not look bad at all. I think I'm going to take 2000 grit anyways, and I will just clean it up, make sure it is spotless, nice and clean, but otherwise beautiful. Alright, so that is the disassembly for the tune kit for the RWS 48. This was also good for the 52, same thing, different stock. And I'm still looking for a new stock, but my next video will be the tune on this. I'll go over everything. I'll show you how I polish this up. I'm not cross-hatching it. I have the self-lubricating. I feel maybe a little... I'll clean it up and then we'll look at the next video. Or, yeah, pretty much. So, okay, there you go. Very easy gun to work on. As you saw, there wasn't that much pressure in the spring. You still want safety first. I'm always about safety. I knew there wasn't going to be that much pressure though, so. But anyways, and I hope you enjoyed the video. So if you do plan on tuning your own 48 or 52, you have a great idea on how to do it. And you don't have to spend 4 to 5 hours looking for the information like I did. But it was well worth it, and if this helps anybody out, it was definitely worth it. It saved somebody a lot of time and effort. Okay, that's it for Air Gunner's Edge for tonight, and I will continue with part 4 next time. Good shooting, everyone, and have a great night.